is underway of an SMX race by taking Charlotte, racing SMX in the SMX Championship.
Yeah, this is it. SMX Insider, Jason Thomas, Jason Weigandt. This is what it's all about. Probably sounds familiar. Took 9 months to get to this part, but we're about to see something that will change the sport. We have playoffs. They started last year. I think everyone, JT, has finally wrapped their heads around what this is going to look like. And we're excited because just to make it even better this year, we have riders coming back from injury. We don't know what situation they're going to be in. And the tracks proved last year you can't really figure that out either. So these are exciting times when we normally aren't doing much of anything.
Yeah, the level of change that we've gone through for, let's face it, 2 years ago, the seasons were done, right? We're all thinking about the off season, and you start to let 2025 thoughts creep in your mind, but we have so much racing action and this new prestigious championship. We're going to go through 3 rounds and find out who will be the second ever SMX World Champion. But yeah, everybody has had a weekend off, and here we go, a 3-race stretch to another title.
Last year was so surprising. We had really ups and downs in results. Riders rallied that you didn't expect. Riders struggled that you expected to be good. Do you think in year 2, the teams will have a little bit better idea? Maybe there'll be less variance, or are we still early in this process?
I just think it'll be a much more normal weekend. Last year, everyone to a man was caught out by surprise. They didn't know how the track would be. They didn't know how the dirt was going to be. There was just so much newness everywhere you turned. Now they're going to have more data to draw from. They'll be able to look back on the 2023 settings from Charlotte, have a direction to go in. So there's still going to be twists and turns. That's what racing is. But at least they'll have some sort of idea what to expect when we roll into North Carolina.
Yeah, now time for the big interview, and this is great. We've got 2 of the best analysts in the game, and they're going to be working together starting this weekend for both Race Day Live and also on our pre-race show. Justin Brayton and Adam Cianciarulo, part of the broadcast. I'm sure you guys are going to do great on TV and on Peacock, but JB, it would have taken 140 points to get into the playoffs. Do you think you had it in you? Is there any part of you that says, ooh, SMX playoffs? Well, I would have liked to have maybe been a part of that.
Well, the first part, no. I'm so glad to be sitting here with you guys and sitting next to AC in the Race Day Live booth and Dan Hubbard as well. And then, like you mentioned, the pre-race show with Katie Osborne. But in the past, for sure, I wish I would have been a part of the SMX playoffs. I feel like, it would have been really right up my alley, call it, 5 or 6 years ago. But unfortunately, I'm 40 years old now, and it's much more fun for me to put on the headset and talk about it these days.
Well, Adam, we got to work together this summer. You were down trackside in the midst of interviewing riders, the podium interviews. But this weekend's going to be a little bit different. You're going to be in the air condition, lucky, with Justin Brayton. A little bit more long form. You have some time to actually share a full thought. We're constrained down there. We have to get in, get out, get to the rider. So what are you going to like more? What are you going to miss about being down there in the midst of it versus being up there in the air condition with Justin Brayton?
Yeah, a lot of things. And for one, JT, you set a very high bar for me, and you helped me out so much in that trackside role this summer. So much appreciated. To be in the booth, a little bit of a longer forum, like you said, with JB here, who's done an awesome job all year long in there breaking it down. I think JB and I have been doing a little rehearsal, and I think we already have a good little camaraderie back and forth going. And I'm just looking forward to being able to bench race. And when I came home, when I was racing Supercross, and when I would come home and watch it back on Peacock, I'd always be kind of wishing I could input, like wishing I could be in the booth and calling it. So I'm just really excited to get up there and be a part of this group.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. All right, well, you got a little taste of it, JB. I know you're with Race Day Live in Monster Energy Supercross. Adam, we got yet a couple of Pro Motocross races this year, so not quite new to this. But I think we gave everybody just enough a taste to know that you guys are going to bring some great analysis. We got a lot to cover on the show. So bring your takes on Saturday. We'll see you then, boys. Okay, awesome to have those 2 working together. Race Day Live will start at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. That's qualifying coverage. AC, JB, and Dan Hubbard and the whole team there. Good to have them back. Similar to the show you saw at Monster Energy Supercross. We'll have a pre-race show to get racing kicked off at 2:30 Eastern. And then we'll drop the gates at 3 o'clock Eastern time. That's all, of course, on Peacock. or the SMX Video Pass. And good news, the SMX Video Pass internationally, now over 150 countries have logged in to watch throughout the 2024 season. So that's really cool. And if you're not watching on Peacock or the SMX Video Pass, there'll be a 2-hour re-air Sunday afternoon from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern on NBC. So tell your friends to see what playoff racing in this sport is all about on Sunday if you can't join us on Saturday. 30-second board. Here are the topics headed to the playoffs. Pretty fun, JT, that there are 5 different champions this year in the regular season. No one repeated. Of course, Jett Lawrence, RJ Hampshire, Tom Vial, and Monster Energy Supercross. Chase Sexton and Hayden Deegan, the champions of Pro Motocross. So that makes it just that much more unpredictable when we get to the hybrid style racing here.
Yeah, it'll be great to see who can kind of step up and get that second championship of 2024. And there are so many storylines that we're going to get to, so many reasons why we could point to certain riders finding success here in September. But as they say, that's why they drop the gate. That's why it's racing. We don't quite know. And one of the reasons we're so uncertain is this completely different format. Now, we went through this once a year ago, but for all these riders, you think about what they're going to get thrown into. Now, I look at it as a little bit of a hybrid, right? The points are totally different, but you look at the way the races go. There are 2 motos, but they're kind of that Supercross main event type length. But the overall leans back into motocross. Highest score, overall winner. So there's a little bit of everything. You know, if you love the motocross format as a fan, if you love the Supercross setup as a fan, you're going to get all of it, Weege, and that's what makes these races so unique.
Yeah, and talking to folks that experienced it by racing last year, that 20-minute 2-moto length, it really is hard to figure out, is that a sprint or is it not? I mean, 20 minutes in a Supercross main feels like a long time, but it's not as long as the motos they've just been doing. And also, I think a factor is the overall doesn't pay points per moto. It only pays points per overall, which is a little different than a motocross race, kind of more what you'd see in a Triple Crown format of Supercross. So many things to get used to. At least the riders got to experience it last year. So we asked them, what is their knowledge of SMX playoffs based on what they've done so far?
It is really anything can happen, so you got to execute. I mean, this is 3 races, execute and everything pretty much perfect. A whole lot of money and another championship, so the goal is to go win it.
The second and third round, I really think are the most important ones, just due to the double and triple points. Especially in the last one, triple points, it's kind of, winner takes all on that round specifically, but you got to be close enough to the fight to give yourself a chance on the last round.
Yeah, just try to be consistent through those first 2 and try to win the last one with the triple points.
I think we're in a lot better of a spot this year, and especially since we have a year under our belt, we're kind of knowing what to expect.
I'm just excited to be on something new. It's going to be exciting, just new tracks and new challenge.
Bring what I learned last year and apply it to new big bike.
You kind of just build, and then the last one you kind of try and hit it up, nail on the head, and win that one. I'm looking forward to it, and obviously next week we'll get on SMX and start messing around on that.
Okay, so with all this in mind, the riders actually do know, to a degree, what they're up against this year, but it only matters how they perform against each other, JT, and we'd be lying if we didn't say that the number 1 bench racing question I believe that everyone has is Chase Sexton, huge momentum, dominant in Pro Motocross. Jett Lawrence returning to the track. I think this is what the fans in the stands starting this weekend are going to be keyed in on. Jett versus Chase.
And they should. The problem for me is that I don't think this is going to be a true representation of certainly what we'll see in 2025, and maybe not what we'll see at rounds 2 and rounds 3 of this SMX World Championship. Remember, Jett is coming off an injury. He is not going to be 100%. I don't think he's going to be anywhere near 100%. So it would not shock me to see the Chase Sexton story continue. The same things we saw happen in the final few rounds of Pro Motocross. I think we could see that again here at Charlotte, but that doesn't mean that there's been a fundamental shift in the pecking order in this racing world. I just think it's more of a representation of where the injuries are and where the recoveries are at this point.
And remember, Sexton did win Charlotte last year, and Jett struggled in Charlotte last year and still won the SMX World Championship on the strengths of races 2 and 3. But he has a little bit bigger hole to dig out of. Let's look at the standings coming in. Jett is actually further back in the seeding than he was last year. And last year, he didn't even score any 450 Supercross points. This year, he's the 450 Supercross champ. It shows how much ground you lose with the two-moto format in Pro Motocross and all the time he missed. So Jett Lawrence, 6th ranked, coming in 9 points behind Sexton. Hunter Lawrence is actually 2nd in points. And don't forget that riders like Webb and Tomac, man, they're just hovering top 10. They have a steep climb, JT.
Yeah, the setup is tougher for Jett on literally every single level there is. New motorcycle, coming off an injury, further points behind. But for Chase Sexton, could you ask for a better setup than this? I don't believe you could. Momentum, points lead, going into a race you won last year. If he doesn't get it done, if Chase Sexton doesn't win this SMX World Championship, I think he could only look at himself as a reason to blame, because it is the ideal setup. Everyone else is either further points behind or further behind in where they're going to be in their performance level. So game on Chase Sexton.
We talk a lot about the mystery of SMX. What condition are the riders in? Are they prepared for the tracks this year? They do get a little bonus time on Friday. We have a 2-day format at these races, which means practice on Friday. They will get to do some press riding on a normal weekend, but it's not the same as this. And that's so the fans can watch them ride. We have a lot going on, JT. A live press conference we'll host. We'll ask these riders about their recovery, and a live show for the fans, the podcast mashup at 5 o'clock. And also in between, pit bike racing and a lot of other fun stuff. So come on out Friday and learn with us.
Yeah, this is a return to the weekend event of yesteryear. It's almost like a Motocross of Nations type feel where people are going to be camping. There's things all day long on Friday. Then all the real racing goes on Saturday. So a lot to see. Hopefully everybody can get out there on Friday. And I think as time grows, this Friday event will become more and more popular because you don't get the kind of behind the scenes feel at normal races that you are at these SMX playoff rounds. And another one of the biggest aspects of this new playoff championship, I believe, is the actions of the riders. There are so many riders coming back for these 3 rounds that, let's face it, they would be on the couch probably the entire month of September and then start thinking about 2025. And you see the list there: Jett Lawrence, Cooper Webb, Ken Roczen, Joe Shimoda, and Cameron McAdoo, who we have not seen in months and months. All these riders are making their return. And Eli Tomac, I think, came back earlier than he would have liked to. You could even argue he wouldn't have come back at all had this championship not been in place. So on top of all the other great things that this is bringing to the sport, it's bringing the stars back.
Yeah, technically Tomac is not returning because we did just see him race, and same thing with RJ Hampshire. We did just see him race the final 2 rounds of Pro Motocross, but he did not come back for Pro Motocross. They came back to use Pro Motocross as a springboard to SMX. But how ready will all these riders actually be? Let's talk to the expert. Well, now it's time for the SMX medical update, and this might be the most important one of the year. We have Dr. Joe McGinley of the McGinley Clinic with us, and it's important because now all these athletes are in a rush to come back from injury and race these playoffs, which we did not used to have. So what can they do with so much on the line to perform?
Well, Weege is exciting. There's a lot of money on the line, a lot of prestige on the line. We're seeing riders come back. We're seeing riders that have been dealing with some nagging injuries. They're going to try to push through it and get out there and compete. The big thing is, listen, the race format's a little bit shorter, right? 20-minute motos. That's going to be to the advantage of those that have had less time on the bike, those that are coming back from some of these nagging injuries. But some of the basics are what's going to help them get through this. So resting, getting up to the race, making sure they're working with their trainers and coaches, making sure they keep their nutrition on par for these type of motos. Staying hydrated, resting in between motos. The basics will get you through these complicated races and race formats and get back out there and get that competition to the highest level.
So for a rider like Jett, riders who are really rushing things to get back out there, what are some of the things they can do after riding on Friday, in between practices, and certainly after that first moto on Saturday to try to be their best self late into the weekend in that final moto on Saturday?
Yeah, great question. Pros and cons of the Friday riding, they'll get a feel for where they're at. So practice training, even hot laps during practice, that's not the same as being on the actual track with your competition right next to you, in front of the fans in the actual stadium. So that's going to give them a very, very good assessment of where they stand relative to their recovery. And then that evening, I'm sure they'll be working with their trainers, PTs, chiropractors, whoever's helping them out, addressing any last nagging issues And then on race day, they'll play it by ear as far as where they're at. They'll know where their weaknesses are, where they need to push. And then in between motos, in between races, resting, making sure they're icing any areas that might be aching or swelling, and then getting the proper nutrition and hydration to get ready for that next moto.
Well, this certainly will be interesting to see how all these riders handle it and how they perform. And then we'll have some more data after the Charlotte race. We'll bring you back next week and see who's ready for Texas, right?
It's going to be exciting. Hopefully we'll have some good racing out there. Hopefully everyone stays safe. And yeah, as this series progresses, they're only going to get stronger and that competition is going to get better.
All right. Thanks, Dr. Joe.
Thank you.
All right. Well, there's one rider not coming off of time off, instead coming off of the Pro Motocross Championship, and in dominant fashion. Hayden Deegan, JT, even wrapped it with a moto victory at the last race of the year at Ironman just to really stamp it. And he's last year's SMX World Champion already. But we go back to a bit more of a Supercross type situation, and it was ups and downs, as you can see here, literally in Supercross. So is Deegan the favorite, or is the tilt toward a little more of a hybrid Supercross arrangement? Did this give other riders a shot to take him down? What do you think?
Well, he is the favorite. I do believe that. But again, I would look back at the points format, and you can be the favorite. You can have a great opening round. It's going to come down to round 2 and especially round 3 to see who wins this championship. So yes, on paper, I think that Hayden Deegan should be considered the favorite. But as we know, with this format and the chaos that ensues, it's going to be anybody's championship.
If you look at the 250 SMX points coming in, huge advantage for Hayden, who had the most combined points, motocross and supercross. Starts with a slight edge over Levi Kitchen and Tom Vial. And Hampshire is not even in the top 10 because he didn't score many points in motocross. So that's a steep hill to climb. One other rider to watch, JT, is Tom Vial. I think the stereotype is that the European racers are raised on Unadilla type natural terrain tracks. JT, you've been to some MXGP events that look kind of similar to SMX. They're hybrid tracks. They make them motocross-like, but they're built man-made. So I think Vial might be better than we expect.
Yeah, and for me, it's going to come down to the starts. I truly believe that the start at these races, especially Charlotte, it was so incredibly difficult to pass last year. If you put yourself in a great position early on, you will be set up for success the rest of the night. I look back at Hayden Deegan's second moto start at Charlotte. He went to the very inside gate. It did not work. And we've seen a propensity from Deegan to take risks with his starting position. He did it at Ironman, did it last year at Charlotte. So watch for that. If Deegan starts 10th in a moto on that split start and doesn't come out, he's not going to race towards the front. Where a guy like Vial, we've seen Kitchen get great starts on a more supercross type format. Those guys could sneak out of there with a Charlotte win.
Also part of the format at Charlotte is the World All-Stars. So we'll have 65s in Charlotte. We'll have Super Minis racing in Texas, and then 250s racing at the finale in Las Vegas. 65 World All-Stars raced in Charlotte last year, JT. I know people that were in the stands. This is the race closest to where I live. I had friends go, and the thing that they reacted to the most was watching 65s jumping Supercross-style triples. That left a bigger impression on them than Chase Sexton winning the 450 class. So look out, people.
Yeah, this is awesome. This is one of the greatest parts of this series, is getting to showcase all of these different size champions as they move towards the ranks. And make no mistake, they're moving towards the big showtime part of this in a few years, right? And they're all in a different time frame. But these are the riders we'll be talking about on SMX Insider in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. So it's great to be able to follow along in their journey each year during the playoffs.
And you can get a little closer to the action at the final 2 races, Texas Motor Speedway and the Strip at Las Vegas Motor Speedway via Inside Track. You can get a little animation idea of what this is going to look like, JT. We're spoiled, you especially. You're on the track at all these races, but for most fans, this is not something they normally get to do.
No, and it's one of the greatest aspects of our sport in general is the up close and personal part of it, whether it's Fan Fest, getting an autograph, meeting the actual riders, having an opportunity to be on the inside track, down on the floor, this close to the action. It does not happen in other sports. So for those who are lucky enough to attend this race, what better way to do it than that inside track attraction that's going to be, kind of a first.
SMXexperiences.com is the way. Yeah, you're right. They do not sell sideline passes to stand next to the coach at an NFL game, but you can get right down there on the floor at the final 2 SMX rounds. So that's cool. Going fast. Speaking of the Texas race, They actually held a press conference. They're so excited about having an SMX round. We saw some stars there. Justin Barsha, Ryder DeFrancesco, Ty Masterpool, who's Texas-based. And that's cool to see the privateer up there with Grant Harlan. And then they actually got to go and really drive and really race. Not just in the van, in real cars, JT.
Yeah, this is super cool. I remember seeing when this kind of popped up, you see photos, you see social media stuff, and I'm like, wait, when did I miss an event? Like, where was my phone, right? And it's so cool that the promotional side for these riders to be able to get in the cars, and also just the lead up to our first experience at Texas Motor Speedway. I love the crossover aspects of these things, and I think the mutual respect that both sides gain from something like this is, we're trying to grow the sport and trying to get new people to understand how great SMX is. What a better way to do it than that?
Okay, and it won't be long until that NASCAR track is covered with some dirt. We can give you the track maps. We'll get to Texas, but we'll start with round 1 at ZMAX Dragway in Charlotte. What do you see here, JT?
Well, the first thing that pops out is we're going the opposite direction, but the theme is very similar to last year. So expect long rhythm sections. That back side of the stadium is very fast. Move on to Texas Motor Speedway. It feels a lot like Chicago last year, but I see Daytona when I look at this race. Fast, the start in the middle. It's almost a harder version of Daytona. And then you move on to Vegas, which to me will be the wild card. It's a gigantic racetrack. It looks like they're trying to incorporate the best of both worlds. It'll have rhythm sections. It's going to have that Supercross feel, but it's got many more high-speed sections than we would ever see. So maybe think Monster Cup times Supercross times motocross. It's going to be an extravaganza, no doubt.
Yeah, and you and I were talking to the track builders at Ironman, the final round of Pro Motocross, and they're going to be there managing the outdoor sections of the track at all 3 rounds. So I think that's what threw everybody last year. They all thought it was going to be giant Supercross, and they said, oh, wait, there really are motocross-like sections, and a lot of that is the preparation of the dirt, not just the obstacles that you can see on the map. So expect people to be guessing all weekend. And finally, let's get to Team USA here. We were left guessing as to who would be on the team. Obviously, Chase Sexton was a shoe-in. He's the 450 Pro Motocross champ. There was some conjecture. Will it be Aaron Plessinger? What if a guy like Tomac or Webb comes back and is strong? In the end, they go with Plessinger. That 250 spot, that was the one that was really up for grabs, JT. Deegan decided not to participate. He's got to get surgery on his wrist. So Chance Hymas, JT, in May, if someone said Chance Hymas is on Team USA, I would have been like, what? It makes a little more sense now that we've seen 11 rounds of Pro Motocross.
In the end, we have 3 riders that truly wanted to go. And I think that's always the best. We heard from Mike Pelletier that Chance Hymas had been asking him since Washougal, texting him almost daily about wanting to attend this event. And I hope someone in the future that there's no sort of consequence, will go back and write a memoir about how all of these teams got chosen, the pushing and pulling and the decision-making process, because it is a wild story. We don't always know what to trust or what we're listening to, but how we land on Team USA each year is an incredible thing. And again, for me, most important thing, we have 3 riders that truly want to go. And I will take that any day of the week when we show up there in October.
All right, time for SMX Facts with our statistician, Clinton Fowler. Now look, Clinton, JT and I have been bench racing on this entire show, trying to guess who will be good, who will adapt, all these things with the unknowns of SMX. So let's apply some data to it. You're calling it reasons to believe or not believe with all the top riders.
Yeah, Weege, it's tough to choose between guys like Jett Lawrence and Chase Sexton, who have obviously had incredible seasons. You got Jett Lawrence on the one hand. He's the second best starter in the entire series, his brother being slightly better. And the amazing part here is he's 2 positions better on the start than Chase Sexton. So when you look at it from a starting perspective, Jett Lawrence has got the advantage. And with a bunch of riders coming back, JT, I look at that and go, man, that's got to be a concern for Chase and a focal point. And so he's going to really have to rely on the speed, which he's had. He's won 6 overalls in a row in Pro Motocross. He was fastest in every one of those, but that's without Jett Lawrence there. And so, JT, the question is, can Chase actually get the starts to compete, and is Jett going to be ready for him?
Well, we look back at Supercross, and that was the biggest problem for Chase Sexton most of the time was starting position. It put him up against it time after time. Now he's sort of figured that out in Pro Motocross, but remember, this is going to be the deepest field he's faced. we have a lot to still sort out. Where is Jett and his recovery? But to your point, the most important point of all of this is it could be the end of that first lap. Where do these riders sit, and what is the battle in front of them? What is the ask in front of them at the end of lap 1?
Yeah, but Clinton, you have some startling dates data on how quickly Jett Lawrence is actually attempting to make this comeback compared to other riders that also had thumb injuries this year.
Yeah, no small task, Weege. He's coming back with 66 days from the day of his surgery. Eli Tomac and Cooper Webb, they came back with 93 days and 89 days at Unadilla. And we saw they were a little bit rusty in those first goings. So it's going to be interesting to see if Jett, with a month less on the bike from that surgery, can actually compete.
Yeah, Eli at Budds Creek and Webb at Unadilla were not quite 100%, and they had 30 more days to prepare for that than Jett is going to have for the playoffs. Okay, who's next on your list, believe and not believe?
Yeah, I'll move to the 250 class here, and obviously Hayden Deegan, just coming off of his first pro motocross title, is got to be the favorite in that class. He's had speed this year. He was fastest in 9 of the 20 rounds he lined up for. He also was really good on the starts, but inconsistent. So he had the most hole shots, 16 of them all year. Absolutely incredible. But he had 11 of the 22 motos in pro motocross where he started 10th or worse. So he's either like amazing or not on the starts, which is interesting because you got a guy like Tom Vial who's going to go up against him. He is the best starter, super consistent. He averages 5.9 at the white line, which is awesome. But the problem for Vial to compete against a guy like Deegan is he's led 12 times, but he's only won 5 times. So JT, for me, it's an interesting comparison with Deegan. Obviously, really fast, super consistent. He's got that dog in him. And a guy like Vial, he's great starts, but he hasn't been able to show the speed to win those races.
Well, you look back at Vial's speed in Australian Supercross. It was pretty good. Like he was up there. He won the East Coast Championship for that reason. Now, certainly Deegan caught fire in Pro Motocross and ran away with that championship. But similar to the 450 class, the starts will be critical. And I think about some of the motorcycle dynamics. I believe that the Monster Energy Star Racing Yamahas have a significant torque advantage. So you get into the starts in Pro Motocross, a really deep start. I believe that Yamaha shines. That's not what we're going to see at these SMX playoff rounds. It's going to be a harder pack start, especially Charlotte, that hard orange clay. Vegas will probably be very similar to that.
What are you seeing on the data side there for Kitchen, who doesn't have a title this year, missed out in both indoors and out? Maybe he could be a guy to get it done when we combine them together, Clinton.
Yeah, Weege, I mean, to some degree, he was second best in both series, right? He was second to RJ Hampshire in the 250 Supercross West region. He was second up until the last round in Pro Motocross. With a guy like Kitchen, he's got incredible speed. He showed it 3 times in Supercross, fastest overall. He was 2-time fastest in Pro Motocross, so I think he's got the speed. The thing that I'm going to be interested in there, in addition to what JT was saying about the bike, I'm going to be interested to see if he can stay away from having those off days. He had the Salt Lake City where he ended up 5th, wasn't able to move forward. He had the race in Washougal where he went 12-4 for, I think, 6th overall, something of that nature. So he had those off days, and in the playoffs and in the finals, we can't have off days. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention RJ Hampshire, 250 Supercross West champion. He's come back in those last 2 rounds of Pro Motocross. He was 3rd and on the podium in Ironman. I like to think of him as full speed ahead, FSA. He just lets it go. So I think he's going to be in the mix as well with Levi. But obviously, I think we still have to say that Deegan's the favorite here.
This should be fun. We could go on for hours with data, but it's all just guessing. Sorry, Clinton. Even the numbers can't really pinpoint anything. So it's going to be a fun and probably unpredictable weekend, wouldn't you think?
I can't wait. I can't wait. I'm going to go with whoever gets the starts, though.
Okay. All right. We'll use that stat early. We'll see if it pans out at the end, and then we'll regroup and see you again next week. Okay, we're wrapping up this episode of SMX Insider. One more time, here's when and where to watch the first playoff round in Charlotte. We'll have race day live qualifying coverage at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. Of course, that's all Peacock and or the SuperMotocross Video Pass. We'll have a pre-race show at 2:30, and the gates drop at 3 o'clock, and that is all Eastern time. So keep in mind, this is a day race in Charlotte, and there'll be a day race in Texas and a night race for the World Championship round in Las Vegas. So keep that in mind. And also, There will be a 2-hour re-air on NBC of the Charlotte round Sunday from 4 to 6 Eastern. This is it. We have been building it up for 9 months to get to this. And I think, honestly, the playoffs over-delivered last year. I think people didn't know what to expect. It was much more of a hybrid than I think people realized. The racing came down really to the final laps to determine champions. So don't blink, folks. This all matters.